right, so let's get into learning more about supply and demand. But before we get into that, I want to actually prove that I know what I'm talking about. I have around, I believe, 13 payouts right now, or maybe 14, and I have 2 withdrawals from my personal account. So here's all my payouts from Lucid. Here's all my payouts on my main account. One there, and the whole second page. All right. Anyways, there's proof. You guys can go over it, punch numbers, do whatever you guys want. But let's get straight into the graphics. All right. So there are. Hold on. Let me move this over so I can have a script. So these are the important terms that you guys need to know when you're trading supply and demand. So a supply zone. In the first episode that I released of the series, I taught you guys how to identify these zones. And from a graphic perspective, this is kind of what it looks like if you were to draw it out. A supply zone is an area where there is potential imbalance, where sellers are there are more sellers than buyers, and that is, I mean, I just indicated in red because people usually associate red with selling, green with being buying and being bullish, stuff like that. A demand zone is I gotta write this down. So supply zone and then demand zone. Demand zone is where buyers are greater than sellers, and the reason why this is so important is because everyone always assumes that a day trading is a gamble, where it's like, oh, it's 50-50, price can go up or down, right? But that's just not true. They only think that because the area where price truly does go very close to 50-50 is in the middle, where there's fair value, right? Because this is where buyers and sellers both agree that this is where price should be, okay? So let's say price is trading at $20 up here and $10 up here. $15 would be fair value because this is the price that they agree with, right? But let's say for some reason price happens to drop down to $10. What are you going to do here? This is where 90% of day traders fail. Because there's so much misinformation saying, oh, if you see a big move down like this, you have to keep on selling, otherwise you're fading trend. And if you're fading trend, then that means you're going against the trend and you're going to get stopped out. Like, they say all this bullshit, but the truth is, when you find true supply and demand zones, why would you want to continue selling when prices are cheap, right? Like, let's say you're Walmart and your goal is to make a profit, okay? Where are you going to be buying your product at? Are you going to buy your product when prices are cheap, or are you going to be buying your product where everyone else is buying it? How do you get the edge over your competitors, and how do you make the most amount of profit? That's right. You're going to buy when, let's say, you're selling tires. If Walmart is like a tire company and they're trying to sell tires, okay? I probably could use a better example. Let's say they're selling tires for $15 and the tire prices are constantly changing. Like one day it could be $10 or $11 or $12, but the price that the most amount of people will buy at is $15. Why on earth would they sell their tires at $10 if that is where prices are cheap? If they know prices are cheap at $10 and tires are rarely there, yeah, obviously they're going to want to buy tires at a discount, okay? But in trading, everyone kind of assumes that when prices have dropped that much, it's going to keep on going down. So what you should do, you should keep on selling. But what's happening is that there's retail traders that are selling back to Walmart. They're selling their $15 tires back to Walmart for $10. And that's why 90% of people are losing. 90% of day traders are losing traders because they're under the impression that, it's not even that they're under the impression. It's that they're just taught the wrong information. That's why 90% of strategies fail, because 90% of strategies are teaching you to sell when you're in demand. Meanwhile, there's big dogs like Walmart that are buying everything up at $10. You're selling to them. There was a really good graphic or Instagram reel that I saw about these guys selling watermelons. I don't know why I even went on that tangent, because I can't find the video now. But yeah, the truth is, there are big banks and institutions. These guys are moving millions of dollars around. Okay, they can't move all those orders around at a spot where they're gonna lose money. They want the best prices because they're trying to make the most amount of money, right? They don't want to end up in here where they're buying everything up for $15 just to sell it back for $15. Okay, they're trying to buy at $10 so that way they can sell back at $15. They're trying to sell back to us for $15 to make that profit. Okay, and these guys, because they're moving so much money around, these guys are the ones that move the market, right? They can't fill all of their orders, and because their order sizes are so large, like because their orders are probably in like the hundreds or thousands of lots, us retail traders, we're only moving like 1 to like 10. These guys are moving around hundreds to thousands. Obviously, when price moves, it's gonna leave a footprint. Okay, I'll get more in depth in it, but pretty much when you see something like this on the price chart, that's their footprint. And this isn't like a breakup structure or anything. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about like the basing candles. I'll get into a video where I can like show you guys like the science behind this. But this is what it would look like on the chart. And this area right here where there's a basing candle, that's where all their orders are at, potentially. And when price goes back in there, you're pretty much seeing a demand zone. This is where all the buyers are. This is where it is more probable to be a buyer than seller. It is not 50-50. If you're down here, if you're buying, there's a high chance that price will go back up. And that's why when I came from auction market theory, they taught us, like, it was pretty much supply and demand. Buy cheap or buy low, sell high. That's literally the strategy. But the thing is, it's a lot more complicated on the chart because the supply and demand equation is constantly evolving. And the volume profile is a good representative of what we're pretty much looking at on the charts. The volume profile, the most volume is in the middle. Like, if you learn auction market theory, they teach you don't trade where there's high volume because that means you're going to get stopped out, right? They teach you to trade at the low volume nodes. And the reason why on this left graphic there's so many people at this left volume node, even though there's low volume, is because these are unfilled orders. These guys have not had their order completely filled because their order sizes are so large. These guys have like 1,000 lots that they want to fill, all right? And us retail traders, we only got like 2 to give these guys. So by the end of all of this, they leave by the end of it with like 500 left, and that's how supply and demand works. The next time we come back, we're hoping that there's still 500 more that need to be filled, and that the next batch of retail traders that sell their product back to these guys, it's going to be used to lift up price, right? So there's actually the highest amount of people at these demand zones, but there's not enough volume filled. Okay? Supply and demand zones are essentially unfilled orders, and unfilled orders can take the form of limit orders, or they're literally just like an order that they know that when price, I don't know exactly how these guys trade, but maybe they have a limit order, maybe they have an alert set, so like when an alert set, or like they just have some way of hiding their fucking order because you can't see it on the DOM because it's always like being spoofed and changed. But these guys have their orders there. The charts don't fucking lie. That is the one thing they'll never be able to get rid of. Like, that's why I don't really believe in the DOM, because the DOM is easily manipulated. These guys, the charts, after what happens on the charts, after you see the candlestick pattern formation, they can't hide that. That is just exactly the same pattern that gets played out every single time they have a big order, right? So what actually happens is that unfilled orders are what causes price to turn, and the amount of volume and the trades that get filled, that's what causes price to move, right? So these supply and demand zones are reversal points, and the actual move itself and the imbalances that come, That comes from the volume and trades being filled, and orders being filled. Fuck, it's so hard for me to write. Right? So, when I say these are two important terms, right? Like fair value can also be interchangeable with being in the middle, or you can also call it an auction. That's pretty much how I refer to it since I used to be auction market theory. But fair value is like the actual term that the OG creator coined it as, and yeah. So down here, when we say prices are low, you want to the strategy is you want to buy when prices are cheap, right? When prices is at $10, you don't want to be a buyer when prices are $20, do you? That's what retail does. You want to be swimming with the big dogs. You want to be with these guys where everyone else is trying to sell. Not even everyone else. This is probably just like one person right here. But the thing is, they have the buying or the selling power of like 100 people. And that's the difference. That's why these big banks and institutions really matter, because these guys have the most buying and selling power, and us retail traders, we don't got shit. We don't even move price. These guys move price. That's why you want to join them, all right? Does that make sense? That's why you want to sell when they sell, and you want to buy when they buy. And you don't want to be caught up in the middle where everyone else is buying. If everyone else is buying here, that's how you know that they're just building some fucking liquidity so that they can fill their own orders and fake everyone out, right? So down here, prices are cheap, and up here, prices are expensive. Okay, and then what else? What else do I gotta go through in this video? 12 minutes of theory. Yeah, honestly, I think yeah, I think that's good for this video. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. Buy and demand zones, sell and supply zones. Like, this is the theory overall. I could probably do a better job explaining it or get more in depth in another video, but yeah, that's it for now.